You can either access an existing customer's account by using the search to find the customer, or you can simply type the customer's customer number, should you or the customer know it, followed by the enter key to pull up the customer's details. Once you have the customer's details in front of you, you're going to first see the customer's billing information. This is going to include their billing address, phone number, email address, if applicable. And then on the far right-hand side, you can see some other information about the customer, which may or may not be helpful to you. For example, you can see the original source, which is how the customer originally heard about you or came to your organization. The customer's current mail status, so whether or not we're able to mail that customer normally, or maybe perhaps they've requested to not be mailed. The division that that customer is a part of, their customer category, which may be associated with additional discounts, their web customer number, if applicable, and then the last campaign that that customer was included in. Now, underneath the customer's billing details, you're going to see a series of tabs. These tabs contain additional information related to the specific customer you're viewing. The first tab is what we call the Customer Notes tab. This is where any notes specific to that customer's account is going to be located. It could be something like maybe the customer has their own shipping account number, or maybe the customer has sent in bad checks before and we want to make sure that that's notated. There could be a series of different things that are notated here, but those are just a couple examples. To add a note to the account, you're going to select the blue New Note button, and then on the right-hand side in the white box, now I can enter my new note. So maybe I'm going to say customer has shipping account number, and I'm obviously just entering some fake information there, but you get the point. So now when I save this customer's details, this note is going to permanently be a part of that customer's account. The second tab here is the Orders tab. So this is going to be a complete list of all of the different orders that this customer has ever placed, whether they've been fulfilled or not, and different information at a glance we can see about this particular orders. So you do want to notice that the orders are listed from newest to oldest by default. So the most recent order is always going to be listed at the very, very top of the grid here. Now, of course, I can click on any of the headers within the grid here to sort by a different column. So maybe instead of by entry date, maybe I wanted to see, I don't know, what their most expensive order was that they ever placed. So I can go ahead and click on that merch amount column to now sort from most expensive to least expensive order. Now there is a scroll bar on the bottom, and I do have my screen in kind of a more minimized view as well. Typically you're going to see more columns at a single glance, but I can use the arrow, the scroll, to go ahead and see additional information regarding the orders. One piece of information that is rather important is the status. The status column tells me at a glance if that order is still open or closed, or if I see an X anywhere within this column, then that means that that order has been canceled. Okay? This is important for me because open orders I can still potentially modify. Potentially, not always, depends on whether or not the warehouse is in process or not. Closed orders I'm not going to be able to have the ability to do anything with. The same thing with canceled orders as well. The next tab that we have available here is addresses. The addresses tab is going to show me any of the previous ship to addresses that this customer has used on their account. And I can go ahead and add future ship to addresses, or remove any of these existing ones. Maybe a customer calls in because they've recently moved, and the next time they place an order, they don't want to accidentally use the wrong address. So they just want to update it right now so they don't forget. So you can come in here and select the previous addresses and remove them. And then you can also come in here and actually add or create a new address as well. The Order Notes tab is going to show you a complete history of all of the order notes that have been placed on any of the orders that have been placed for that customer. Again, all of these columns are completely sortable, so I can, click on any of the headers to sort them in any fashion that I need to. And if I find a note that I want to view in more detail, I can just simply click on the row, and then the note is going to appear here on the right-hand side. You can't enter any notes in the Order Notes tab. This is just a view only. If you did need to enter any notes regarding a specific order, you would need to navigate to that order to place those notes. There will be specific training on that in the order-related training. The next tab that we have is the Accounting tab. The Accounting tab then is where we would go to assign customer terms or credit limits. So should the customer be eligible to purchase on credit with no payment down and be able to receive their merchandise, this is where that information would be set. By default, the customers are all set to just standard prepaid, which means that the customer does have to pay for the order up front in order to receive the goods or the merchandise. In this case, this customer has a net 30 terms for $1,000 credit limit, which means that they have a credit limit of $1,000 and that whatever their purchases needs to be paid within 30 days. In this case, this customer has a balance already with some open on account, and so they're actually in negative credit status. This customer also has a discount that they are eligible to receive for any orders that they place. By having an accounting discount, any order that that customer places will automatically have that discount percent applied to any line items that are eligible for discounts. And the last field here is the tax exempt ID. This is to be filled in only when a customer is tax exempt and has provided the proper paperwork to show so. We do have the ability in some customer circumstances based off of their credit card processor to actually purge credit cards. So if a customer called in and wanted to make sure that any of the cards that they used in any of their previous orders were no longer accessible or on record at all, we would go ahead and select this Purge Credit Card button. This only purges credit cards for orders that have been closed. So if there are any credit cards on any open orders for that customer, those credit cards would not be purged at that time. On the far right-hand side is customer status. Customer status is where we can go ahead and set up different statuses for the customer based off of different criteria they might meet. For example, it's common that customers will have a bad customer status if they have some past due payments they haven't paid, they have some bad checks that they haven't paid, or something along those lines where they've just established just a poor payment history and you're going to choose to no longer allow them to buy goods or services. They could also be for things like a VIP customer, where maybe you just want to really make sure that anybody who deals with this customer knows that they are a special customer to your organization. Maybe they're a long-time loyal customer. Maybe they just spend a lot of money with the organization. Maybe you want to give them special treatment, maybe a special discount or something. You can do that by flagging them with different customer statuses. And then underneath the accounting section at the very top here, we do have two different grids below that. The first is the open balances grid, which is going to show you a recap of any current amounts that are outstanding due, any credit slips that are out there, and anything that's already been paid. Just like all of the other grids we've discussed so far within the application, you do have the ability to sort them. So here I can easily see that this customer has, a set of some different credit slips that are out there that have not been used up yet, and they also have a few balances are out there that need to be paid down. And then you can see the total at the very bottom of the grid. Underneath that, I can see a recap then of any refund checks. So this is going to show me any refund checks that have been issued by the system, whether they've been printed or not. So in this case, I can see that one of these refund checks was printed back in 2019, but at this point, the other refund checks have not been printed. I do have some different options. Instead of just printing the refund check, I could go in and actually change one of these refund checks into a credit slip. That would allow me to go ahead and pay down some of this past due balance. So that might be something that, we might want to consider instead of just printing those refund checks directly. Sometimes you want to evaluate those situations. All right, the next tab of information that we have available then is what we call the CRM tab. So the CRM tab is really going to give us information related to catalogs and any specific user-defined information we want to collect regarding that customer. So on the left-hand side, I do have the ability to go ahead and fill in these top couple fields here, type and source code, to be able to do what we call a catalog request. So based off of the type and the source code that I've selected, I can now hit the request catalog button, and this allows that request to go into my catalog request grid here. This grid does track whether or not this catalog request has been printed and then the date that it was printed on as well, which is helpful. So if the customer's calling back in wondering, hey, has that catalog been mailed yet? When am I going to get the next catalog? We can see, hey, it hasn't even been printed yet. On the right-hand side, we do have the ability to come in here and populate this grid with any prior mailings that have been sent out to this customer, just so again we can kind of track and see that history. Sometimes that can be helpful. And then we can see or capture rather the URL. So if there's a specific company URL for this customer, we want to have that on record. We have a field to maintain that information. The date of entry is the date that that customer's account was created. Then we have the ability to capture an interest code, which is populated list from list maintenance settings, so it's completely controllable or user defined by the client. And we also have the ability to capture a salesperson as well. On the bottom, or underneath all of that, then we do have these additional user-defined fields. In this example, we have some different things like birth date and graduation date and, make and model of car. These are just some examples. Really, again, this is very client-driven. Some people may have information populated underneath here and others may have nothing. SKU history then. This is really helpful because this is going to give you a complete breakdown of all of the individual SKUs that that customer has purchased for the lifetime of their customer history with us and the status as well. So for example, these items here at the top that are crossed out, I can easily tell that these items have actually been canceled. They were never fulfilled. I can see some items that are shippable, some items that are drop shipped, and I can see the actual status here on the grid if I do scroll over. There are a lot of different pages of records here. Some of the items in here have shipped. You can sort by any of these items, so I can go ahead and choose to sort these items from top to bottom. Also, I can also export this as well. So if I was looking for something specific, I could export it and then do like a Control F to search for something. Maybe, searching for a specific description, that would be a really easy way to do that. Export the data, do a Control F, search for whatever part of the description you're looking for and see what you can find. So this is really, really helpful. Letters is the next tab, and this is giving you the ability to send out customer level letters. So a customer level letter would be like, okay, your account is past due, you're now going to be cut off. Okay. It's not going to be order specific. If it's order specific, that's coming from the order or the order level. All right. So here in this case, I actually don't have any letters pre-populated, but if I did, I would select one from the drop down here, make sure that my email address is pre-populated, and then hit the send email button. It's that simple. And the last two tabs here, so we have a bill to customer and an order by customer. I'm going to kind of talk about these two tabs together because they really do go hand in hand. So we have the ability within our application to define a bill to customer and an ordered by customer. Now this is typically going to be used in like a business to business type scenario where maybe the organization is selling to, I'm just going to say, a Walmart. And maybe there's one central place that's going to be billed for any of that inventory that's shipped to all of the different stores in a certain area or location. But there's going to be several different, maybe 5 stores responsible for ordering for their own individual inventory and stock, but all being billed to the same one location. That is what this functionality is really meant for. It's not meant for a situation where, you know, Aunt Susie calls in for Sally Joe and, has Sally Joe's permission to place an order on her behalf. It's not that type of a scenario. It's really truly a business type relationship. And so what we do within the system here then is we can tell the system, okay, this 5447085 is a bill to customer. And I know that because in my bill to customer, there's no customer listed here. So there's nobody attached to this customer to bill on their behalf. And if I look at the order by customer tab, I can see 2 different order by customers that are listed here. If I select one of these customers, it's going to go ahead and open up a second customer maintenance tab with that customer's details. And if I go to the bill to customer tab there, you can see the bill to customer is 5447085, which is, relaying that back to my main customer here. So as far as all of the different details and pieces of information that you have available within the customer maintenance module alone, it is a great deal. There's a lot of information that you have available. I do recommend just taking some time and navigating through, clicking on the different tabs, challenging yourself, asking yourself, okay, if I needed this piece of information, where would I go? And seeing how fast you can find it. The more you utilize the module itself, the easier it gets to be able to find what you're looking for.